Well, to wrap today's events ahead of the official opening conference tomorrow, SABC News Political News Editor Mzwandile Mbeje joins us now for more. Mzwai, thanks for joining us. It's been a long day for you, and it's just the day before the conference begins in earnest. The President has just delivered his message. I know that it's not the conference proper, but I suppose some of what he says speaks to how he hopes the conference will play out.
Well, a very good evening to you, Peter. When he was closing his speech, he said something very profound. He said the conference that begins tomorrow is a watershed moment. He said it will not only define the next 5 years, but the next decade. So whatever the next 4 days they will be sitting here discussing will define the future of this country. So that is the message really that came out from his speech today. He obviously touched on a number of other issues relating to the work that his government has been doing. But for me, Peter, something that I really listened to attentively was when he was closing to say, as they walk to this conference, they're quite aware of the challenges ahead. But of course, that will be determined, or rather, we will see that when it happens. There's a lot of issues that South Africans have been raising about the direction of the country. To hear the head of state say that does perhaps tell you that if he wins, so perhaps the gear may change.
So as outsiders looking in, all we've really had a chance to get a sense is some of the statements that some of the leaders have said over the last few days. You're in the room there with pretty much the higher echelons of the party. Have you been able to get a sense of the mood? We know that some people have taken positions, others are reluctant to speak. What mood do you think the ANC is in at the moment?
Well, if you look at this event, which is a gala dinner attended by a number of business people, government officials, mainly ministers, the mood seems to be, quite honestly, a bit subdued. I mean, even the speech of the president was not that long. He didn't say much other than perhaps telling us what is it that he's been doing, his government. But of course, that does tell you or give a sense of the kind of tense moment that everyone is awaiting. Remember, from tomorrow and perhaps the day after tomorrow, for me, that will be the actual conference, Peter. Because when those tensions are still high, when people are still uncertain who will be their next leader, it does then get that kind of interest. So right now, you can't be victorious, you can't, because you don't know what's going to happen. So after Saturday, if the program goes according to plan, you will then be able to have a sense of where this conference is going. But for now, there's a bit of a tense moment, which is quite interesting.
All right, so tonight is fundraising. A lot of business people gather. I believe that some were paying as much as 1.2 million rand to sit next to the president. But there's always been this difficulty, not always, but in recent years, business people saying, do we show up and do we get seen there? Because then you get associated. I wonder what the mood is like now, given the travails that the party is going through. Some have definitely showed up, but when you've watched over the years and compare, what do you see?
Oh yes, in the past you would see quite a number of very prominent people, perhaps who are in your face, who we normally read about. It's not necessarily the case, but I must say people did show up this evening, and of course, it may not be names that are familiar to everyone, but I guess looking at the nature of this event being a networking session, there's really nothing wrong to get an opportunity to mingle and perhaps even share ideas with those who hold power. Because as a business person, your very nature is to try and influence the policy direction. I guess a moment like this, Peter, will really be used by a number of people. In fact, if those who we are accustomed to seeing are not the ones now who are out there, nature simply will not allow for a vacuum. There will be other people who will see the opportunity and grab it.
If history is anything to go by, often at this dinner, the president gives us hints about what he might say tomorrow at the opening of the conference. You've already, I think, alluded towards the end what he talked about. Are there any other clues you think you might have picked up about the message that we might hear tomorrow?
Well, the sense you are getting, Peter, is that he would want to intensify the fight against corruption. He would want to intensify the fixing of the broken state parastatals. I think for me, that is the sense I got to say, if I'm given again this mandate, I will continue the work that I may have started, and perhaps even those who may not have been appreciating that which I've started will in time see.
All right, so it's been quite a long day. Is there anything that you can unpack for us, events that have played out today?
Oh, well, not really much. I guess because, Peter, everyone is right cautious right now. In fact, earlier there was an NEC meeting which obviously concluded the calendar of this administration of the NEC. Perhaps something that I may just add, Peter, which is very important. We know that those 5 members of the ANC who voted against the party line in Parliament were served with letters today. We actually got an opportunity to speak to some of the senior members and fellow cabinet ministers of someone like Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, where they were basically saying, yes, they understand people have their own views, but they would perhaps have acted differently. So the fact that these 5 people have been referred to the DC, the disciplinary committee, to look into this matter is quite interesting. I wonder the highest structure of the ANC, which is the conference, what sort of attitude and approach they will take in dealing with this. Because it doesn't matter what is it that you are doing now as the NEC, there is a structure that is empowered to rule over everything else, because the conference is the highest decision-making body.
Mzwandile Mbeje, we're going to leave it there. I hope you've got your sleeping bags. I've got a feeling you're not going to get much rest over the next 5 days.
Yeah. I better rush.
Thanks very much indeed. That's our political news editor, Mzwandile Mbeje, who's out at Nasrec already today, covering the dinner, the fundraising dinner. The president has just spoken a short while ago. He says a shortish speech, perhaps not as inspiring as in previous years, but perhaps reflecting the mood at this time.